Welcome, welcome, everybody. This is Mrs. Denise Parker, Director of Internship and Careers, and your host for NCRF TV's Elevate Your Game. I am super excited for today's special guest. We're going to talk about all things financial education wise, and I can't wait to introduce our special guest later on. But before we get started, let's have a little HBCU fun fact. All right. For today, Elevate Your Game, we're going to be featuring some wonderful things about finance. And in our HBCU fun fact, the CFA Credit Academy is working with more than 250 scholars from 14 HBCUs, training them in financial literacy, credit education, and developing their careers and leadership skills. The CFA Credit Academy, in the past, they hosted a hackathon challenging HBCU students to form teams of 4 to build the next best credit education program for their peers. The winning team earned a $40,000 scholarship sponsored by Experian. And if you don't know who Experian is, that is a credit bureau. Oh my goodness. If you want to learn more about this, you want to go to www.homefreeusa.org. That's homefreeusa.org. Well, let's get started. Welcome to our show. I'm super excited for today's special guest. He is known as Mr. Build Wealth, aka also known as Mr. Jasper Smith. Before we get started, he is straight out of Oakland, California. Is that right? Thumbs up where you Oaktown in the house. And if you know anything about Oaktown, people are down to earth, just like the business that they take care of. So let's get him back on stage. He came on before. Mr. Jasper Smith, Mr. Build Your Wealth, are you ready? Thumbs up. All right. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, look, I had to do something right to get invited back for a second time. And I wore my A&T hat just for this one today because I'm a proud HBCU alum. And so I wanted to make sure I rep my school. Aggie Pride is nationwide. And I just want to remind people of that. So thank you so much for having me back, Denise.
Well, I'm just super excited. We have this wonderful opportunity right now to really talk about building wealth. And, what is just our theme today is something that a lot of people don't really actually have a better understanding about. We're going to be talking about having a wealthy mindset. What does that mean, especially for our young graduates? Class of 2023. May is here, and wow, it's been a lot. People had to go through a pandemic going to school. They had to, tough it out with virtual learning, and also maybe take a sabbatical because they weren't expecting that it would last that long. And it really set back their financial, trajectory for school, because, you have to plan all that out. And now they're graduating. You, a college grad, tell us about when you graduated. What was that like?
Yeah.
You don't have to list your age, if you
I mean, it was way different than now, right? I mean, I was fortunate to have a job upon graduation. We weren't going through a pandemic, but I just feel like the financial stuff that we'll talk about today, I kind of wish somebody would have just told me, like, hey, aside from getting the job offer, like, what else do I need to know being an entry-level worker? It doesn't matter what industry you're going into, but just understanding that there are just certain things you need to know. And I know school prepared me to go to work, but I wasn't necessarily ready for the financial management part of being an adult. And adulting, it's cool when you're a kid because you want to be an adult, and then you realize, oh, I gotta do real things. Like, I gotta be responsible. Well, I should be responsible. And so I just wish somebody would have given me a playbook upon graduation, so I could have started out from day one and just, this is what you do if you want to be wealthy. That's the playbook I wish I would have gotten in my hands. I had a little bit of it, but I think a lot of people don't have any financial knowledge. They just don't have it. So it's part of this, how can I share what I know to be true now that I've been out of school for a while, and try to encourage all these recent graduates to just start now. You won't regret it. Like you won't regret anything that you do now from a financial standpoint, because
Mhm.
I have clients now who are twice my age and they tell me what they wish they would have done when they got out of school. So
Right.
hopefully I can shed a light on a few areas that might be useful to all your listeners and viewers.
Well, it will be useful because you can never learn, enough because the economy always changing, it's shifting. Us as Black Americans, we're projected to actually not have as much wealth by the year of 2025. It was 2035, but because of the pandemic, it sped up everything because the advancement of technology with AI, artificial intelligence, is making more people lose their jobs faster. Not only that, think about it. I mean, all these big tech companies, they're doing these huge layoffs. It's young people are graduating with no career in mind. It's like all these different things that are hitting them. But everybody's hiring at the same time. They're hiring entry level, low paying jobs in an economy where if you live in Southern California or in California, or in America in general, it used to be cheaper just to live out in the valley somewhere, but now the valley is $1 million per for a home and rents like extra. It's just craziness
Yeah,
going on, and people have to have more than one stream of income. What I
true.
find that what's missing in our education system is something our colleges, our high schools, our elementary schools, they are not teaching wealth. They're not teaching financial education where you learn how to balance your checkbook or learn about credit. You don't know about how to secure, financial freedom in a projected time when you get a school loan or you want to go after a house or get a car note. Or I mean, they don't teach these things, but they graduate you with the basic knowledge of just, hey, here you go, here's your diploma, now figure it out. And you get into school hitting your head a lot of times. What are some of your advice that you give to your clients in what you do?
Yeah, I think it's one, starting just kind of where you are, and understanding that, like you said, you're not gonna know everything, but
Hmm.
you don't have to. But I would say start with like what is like piquing your interest? Like what have you heard? And I think that's
Hmm.
easier for like a younger professional starting out, because you just may not have been exposed to enough simply because of your age. And
Hmm.
so I would say think about, do I have a relationship with a financial institution, meaning
Hmm.
credit union or a bank, and do I have just kind of the basic? Do I have the checking account? Do I have a savings account? Do I have maybe one credit card? Just like basic stuff is where I would start that conversation. And I've realized that a lot of people didn't have that talk. I assumed that we all did, but no, a lot of people just don't have that kind of connection to
Hmm.
financial things, and let alone financial institutions. But I was saying, start at your bank or credit union, because that's usually kind of where our relationship starts, but we don't go a little bit deeper in terms of asking them, hey, I'm fresh out of school. What should I be thinking about now? And some of these
Hmm.
institutions do have financial advisors like myself who may be able to provide some type of guidance, but you got to ask. You got to say, hey, I just graduated, got my job. What should I be thinking about right now? And that's actually what I did upon graduating college. Is I literally asked like the oldest person at my job, like, yo, what do I do with this? And I
Hmm.
asked people at the job, people outside the job, people in my community, because I was like, let me just ask enough people, because the truth will probably come out of all this, out of all these interviews I was doing. And I
Right.
started to find this kind of common thread of, okay, they said savings, they said investments, they said retirement, they said insurance. I was like, okay, I think I got like the couple of things I need to be aware of. And then I started doing some of my own research. But then it's a it's a process, is what I'll say.
Right.
It's
Right.
not
Right.
you
Right. Right.
figure it
Right.
all out, you're done for life. It's like, no, for this part of your life, you start where you are, but just know there's going to be other things you're going to have to start including as you go through your career and life.
Well, most people don't have an understanding of what being wealthy is
True.
because everybody has their own definition of what that is for them. I mean, for somebody like myself, it's just having freedom to be able to, take up a opportunity whenever it comes my way if I'm interested in it, or take that vacation that I wanted to do, or take a sabbatical from my day-to-day work put my kid in homeschooling if I decide I didn't like the school, situation. That to me is a wealthy mindset, not necessarily living, in a mansion and having a yacht and all this other stuff. That's
Agreed.
other people's dreams and goals. I want to just have access to it. I want to get invited sometimes. I don't want to have to pay for it and dock the ship.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah,
my ideal of wealth, and splitting my assets if something goes wrong. I really want to make sure that I protect my family's legacy is the key thing for
mm,
wealthy mindset, because a legacy is, and wealth is having 5 generations of financial establishment where you can either pass down a business or a home with equity or insurance policies that actually have substantial amount of assets that can actually contribute to a person's well-being for future and for things that are unheard of.
yeah, yeah,
What do you encourage young people in general to, when they hear the word wealth, to first like think about or
yeah.
consider?
I start with savings because I think everybody should just get in the habit of saving
Mm-hmm.
because there is going
Mm-hmm.
to be an emergency in your life. Live long enough,
Mm-hmm.
something's going to happen to you. Do you have the money like readily available to use to help you with said emergency? So whether that's a dollar amount or a percentage, that's up to you, but you've got to do it. You have you have to save money if
Mm-hmm.
you want to be wealthy. That's where it starts. You don't get wealthy by just saving, but it's a start because you got to have that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always going to have that savings conversation. I'm going to also talk about investing, and I'm thinking of investments from kind of two angles. It's I'm investing for maybe general purposes or goals that not we're not talking about retirement, right? So retirement is its own bucket.
Right.
So I try to get people to separate or like to kind of organize. I got to
Mm-hmm.
save, I have to invest, and then need to also invest for retirement. So that's like the big three that I try to start with everybody is that have we done something in one of those three areas? And if so, great. If not, let's talk about it. Like let's talk about why we're not saving, why we're not investing. Let's talk about why retirement isn't important to you because retirement is coming. And I know when I was fresh out of college, it was so far away. And they were like, Jasper, look, if you get lucky, you're gonna live long enough and you're gonna need some money when you want to stop working.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
I try to start there.
Yeah, I know you're in a busy place right now because you just on the go, but that's okay. We're gonna make it work no matter where you're at, talking all this wisdom. I find that young people are just overwhelmed, or people are overwhelmed with their day-to-day lives. Making the ends meet, trying to go to the grocery store and not pay so much money when the groceries are more expensive. And
Mhm.
that's a part of having a wealthy lifestyle. It's just being able to buy the things that are your necessities, food, making sure you have a safe place to live and getting from point A to point
Mhm.
B.
Mhm.
You really are not feeling happy until you have those basic needs in
Agreed.
your bucket. You don't want to feel like you can't provide for you and your family if you have young ones. You don't want to feel like, I know parents who can eat top ramen, and people can eat top ramen, but not if they have like kids. They need a little bit more substance, stuff like that. And college students, your mentality, what happens while you were in college? You were
Mhm.
scrimping and saving and spooning off of each other, splitting meals and stuff like that. But when you graduate, you don't have that community anymore. You're kind of left to your own to figure it out. How is it for young people? What was it like when you transitioned out of college and got into the real world? Were you thinking big, or you're like, oh no, this I gotta figure this out real quick in a hurry?
Yeah, I definitely was the latter. I wanted to figure out from day one. And that's just the planner in me. Like I personally wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to just work just to make a paycheck to maybe just live and pay my bills. I was like, I need to start now. And I've
Mhm.
heard, right? It was always, I heard I should do certain things. And then I
Right.
started asking around, like my peers. I was like, who else is about that life right now? And I didn't have it all figured out at 20, 21 when I finished school, but I was already searching for the what's next. And I've got to do my best to try to your point, rebuild that sense of community. And I did move away for a job after college. So it was like, who will I connect with who will understand that I am going in a certain direction and I don't want to go alone. I don't want to be alone. But it's hard. It's hard for people to work together. It sounds crazy, right? But it's very challenging when you move away, or even just go to school and you're starting to be in that new environment, and it's just like you're just uncomfortable. But that's where like the growth happens in life, when you feel a little uncomfortable, like you start asking more questions, and then you start getting those answers, and then you start to see how that stuff plays out in real time. So it was trying to find, you got to find that community or that village of people who are like on the same wavelength as you. Don't have to be in the same occupation, but on the same wavelength of, we're young, we have a job. Now what's next for us? And for some it's starting a family right away. For others it's getting that first car. Doesn't matter what it is, but we got to just talk about it. See, Denise, we're always like, I don't want to tell nobody what I'm doing. Well, you should, because somebody might help you if you tell them what you're working on. Last time I checked, when I ask for stuff, I usually get it, because I'm sincere about, here's why I'm asking.
Right.
And people will want to
Right.
help you. Just
I
ask.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, I want you to have a thought before, just for you to think about when we come back. A lot of people, when they graduate, like you said, they either stay in the town where they went to school because they took up a job, or they move back home to where they're originally from, or they branch out into some unknown place. What is it like to transition into this new world? College graduate, trying to figure it out, um, rebuilding that community. What are the risks that they should be taking? Not just by talking about, like you said before, but like what risks that young people should be taking upon graduation, so that they know they're going to constantly be on that trajectory of wealth, 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 wealth. I'll be right back with you. We're going to go to our announcements. Okay. So this is Elevate Your Game presents Having a Wealthy Mindset Graduation Edition. For today's announcements and internship and career opportunities, we have T-Mobile, who's also a partner of ours. They have various roles and locations available for high school, people who graduate from high school, those who have a GED, or college graduates. If you love working with people, if you want a commission plus salary, 90 days after working, you get great benefits. There's tuition reimbursement for those who are still in school or deciding to go back to school, in sales, tech, business to business, customer care roles. Excellent training through and through. There's growth in the company. This is one of our spotlight partners. There's benefits for all, family benefits, health plan benefits, you name it. You can email me, or you can scan that QR code to find out more information. Also, LinkedIn, a career spotlight. I always get tons of LinkedIn. I say it every week, 30, emails a day, pretty much throughout the week. This time I saw this one from Heliostat. It's an internship. It's a composite material research development internship in Golden, Colorado. The basic qualifications is full-time in a bachelor's program, a master's, or a PhD program. So as an internship period is through and through. If you're a bachelor's, getting your bachelor's or your master's or your PhD, you can apply for this internship. It should not exceed 12 months past your graduation. For this particular opportunity to apply for, there's a minimum of 3.0 cumulative GPA. Upload your transcripts as part of the application process to prove about your cumulative GPA. It will state that in your transcripts. And if selected, a LOR, a letter of recommendation, will be required. Additional required qualifications: if you're you have mechanical design experience, a fundamental understanding of material science and composite material, experience programming with Python and MATLAB, strong math and data analyst skills, you're effectively communicating with others very well. This is a great opportunity for you. And I like it because Heliostat is doing some wonderful things in science. And this is a great opportunity that I saw that you might want to be interested in. Back to our show. Excellent. So, this to build wealth. What did you think of? What are you thinking of, like upon graduation, some of the key things that people needed, to scale up to wealth?
Couple things. So if I'm going away, it's sometimes easier because you're the new person. So like nobody knows you. So you almost have this kind of sense of freedom to explore, or you naturally, I hope, explore a little bit more when you're not in that hometown or in your comfort zone. And so for me, that's what happened. So I was
Mhm.
exposed to a lot of different information and people from, I'm from North Carolina. And then I moved to Philadelphia and then to California within the first 2 years of me leaving school. So I was totally out of the South, totally new to the Northeast, and totally new to the West Coast. And so I was just trying to explore, like, who can I meet? Where are you? Tell me your story. And so I was meeting a whole different type of person just because of you're in a new environment.
Mhm.
So I'm
Mhm.
naturally, I need to know this because I live here. So I need to be aware of like, where do I go for stuff? Just like, even just in terms of like living. But I was meeting people from, again, different parts of the country who were born and raised in these cities. And I'm like, I never would have got this same exposure staying in North Carolina. I love North Carolina. That's where I'm from. So there's nothing wrong if you do stay in that hometown or even where your school is located or nearby, because there's certain risk you probably won't take because you're in that same bucket. Like these are your friends. All of you got the same, you all got employed at the same time. You're living in the same vicinity. So you may tend to take a little bit less risk with your money because of the comfort of everybody in your circle. See, I didn't have that circle, so I just jumped in. No life vest. I just started flailing. I'll figure it out. Everybody's not comfortable doing that. Some people are okay with taking that risk, and then that really applies to like your investment program. So with
Yeah.
your investments, you may not take a lot of risk because everybody in your circle or your family or in your village is like, we don't do that kind of stuff here. See, I
Right.
didn't have those guardrails. It was like, you're try it. If it
Right.
doesn't work, at least you learned something that didn't work. And so what you'll find throughout your life is that like the people you hang around will influence your financial decisions. And you know that already. You are a sum total of your five closest friends.
Right.
And as you get older, the things that change, maybe that small circle of friends, and then the books you read. And so I started reading different books. I started hanging out at different educational sessions where I was learning about wealth, whether it was real estate or the markets or credit or home buying. And so would I have done that with my friends if I was back at home? Maybe, maybe not. But because I was just so new in these areas where I didn't have that real influence, like Jasper, you should do this versus Jasper, just go check that out.
Mhm.
And so for the newer grad, moving away can be helpful and useful. Or if you do decide to stay home, try not to follow the crowd is what I'll say.
Right.
That could be the difference.
Right. I find it very interesting. There's so many different programs on television that actually talk about wealth and how to, basically get rich. There's a program on Netflix that I watched just recently called basically How to Get Rich. It's Ramit Sethi.
That, mhm.
He great program. I don't know if you got to see that program. It just kind of did like a montage of different people's stories and how they treat wealth, treat
Mhm.
riches, what is living their best rich life. And it taught me a lot because a lot of people just don't know and they're afraid to talk about finances. Everything is so traumatic when they talk about finances.
Mhm.
It has to be like, it is or ain't, we have or we don't. There's no like comfortable conversation.
Yep.
And one thing I noticed, even in learning just about investments, people are afraid to even talk about investments because they are not familiar with, the market and how the market works. And
Mhm.
so they just don't get involved.
Yep.
But they're buying Nikes and they're investing in cars and,
Yep.
they're buying real estate, for to live in, but they don't know about real estate investment trusts, or they don't know about, that's a way to own some real estate and get your dividends without actually having to own the
Speak on it.
actual take care of the property and stuff like
Speak
that.
on it, Denise. Speak on Denise. You know how many people I've told that they were like, "Well, Jasper, I can't afford a house because my credit's not right. I don't have the savings." I was like, "You could have owned real estate just by having an investment account," and they were like, "Come again?" But Denise, that's the difference, right? Again, depending on where you grew up and where you go will dictate that flow of information because you're not just randomly gonna find that on the internet. Like you got to be looking for it, or you've had
Yeah.
to hear somebody talk about it. before
Yeah.
you go do your research. And that's the fun part about life, is that it is what you make out of it. But if you don't even think about certain things, maybe you never explore and try because you didn't know. You never
Well,
heard anybody talk about it.
well, it's so interesting. Just because you graduated from college doesn't mean your education stops.
True. Very
You
true.
continue to learn as you develop and grow. You get that new job, you should go over the financial plan of that job. You should know if they have a 401k. You should know about if they match your money, if you invest into, anything within the company, if it's a publicly traded company. You want
Yeah.
to know these things. You don't want to get paid out every month if that's what your goal is, but you can retire and have a big lump sum as opposed to these little nuggets here and there. These things that we just don't know about. We just get our offers, college graduates, get their first early career, they get that offer letter and they're like, I made it. And then
And
they're
that's where,
not happy.
yes. And that's where it stops. So I talk to all of my clients about, can you explain to me your employee benefits?
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, 70% kind of check a box and
Right.
keep it moving. Never really read the details. And so for
Mhm.
like younger professionals, like when you're young and healthy and like you got your whole life in front of you, you're not thinking about life insurance, disability. You're not thinking about the other perks that you might have through the job. Take your time and go through the entire benefit package, whether it's online or it's a stack in a notebook. Just
Mhm.
go through it. If I'm a
Mhm.
new, entry level professional, ask the oldest person at your job or call your HR or benefits specialist and say, I need you to explain this to me and why this is important. Or should I sign up for this during enroll? Like, nobody's telling you to do that.
Right.
I remember I had the same experience you just described. Got my job, knew I had a 401k with a match. That was it. I clicked off everything else. Like, I knew about dental and health, but I was like, it's not important. Click, 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 click. Got it done.
I hear you. And a lot of people don't know about AFLAC, how that protects you in between, like, say for instance, get injured or you're out of work for whatever reason. And there's certain insurances that actually protect you for liabilities. I use that. One of my employers that I worked with previously, they provided AFLAC as an option to choose from. We had to sit in front of the AFLAC presentation. People were like, oh, how much does it cost? You're going to take that? How much are you going to take out of my paycheck? But then when I looked at what it provided, it was like, oh, so if I get into an accident and I can't go to work, they're going to pay me for the days that I miss. So I never have to miss work. And I was an independent contractor on certain jobs. And then I had a W-2, which is I was an employee for another job. So this actually is going to work in my benefit. And lo and behold, years later, when I least expect it, my son swallows a penny, literally swallows a penny, gets lodged in his throat. We're in the hospital in an operation. I missed 2-3 days of work. Affleck sent me a check within 5 business days. It was like over $2,000 for just I'm like, this actually worked. This insurance. Yay.
The funny thing about that though is people, until they've had an experience, they won't understand the value. So you had an experience, so now you're like a fan. See, if I don't ever have that disability experience, I don't understand why this is important to me. I have no clue as to why do I need insurance? Well, nothing ever happened, so nobody in your family's told you.
A little
But
bit.
when you've
He's
had
coming
that
back.
personal
He's coming back.
experience, you were sold
That was
on
such a good
benefits.
thought. While he's there, we're just going to make another couple announcements. And just while we're here, just go add this to the stream. Or maybe it's me. Yeah. Okay. Are you there? I think it's there. Okay. While you're there, while you're waiting, we're just going to make another announcement about our organization. Um, National College Resources Foundation, we're a 501c3, a nonprofit educational enhancement organization. Our mission is to curtail the high school dropout rate and increase degree and or certificate enrollment among underserved, underrepresented, at-risk, low-resource, homeless, and foster students. Our vision is to close the gap in educational achievement, workforce and economic disparities with the goal to end racism and inequality. And I say that because we're having this conversation about building wealth, and we want people to know more about what our organization is doing. One of our 5 pillars is to increase financial education and make sure that we get the information out. This mission is through and through. It's from college careers and beyond. You were just saying something. We got like a little cut off. What were you saying about just, just living life and just having this moment where an aha moment where the disability insurance kicked in and you're like, yes, it worked.
Yeah, I was trying to say my connection was a little bad. So unless you've had a personal experience with it, you you don't understand why certain benefits are important.
Right.
And
Right.
so if I'm young and I'm healthy, I may have never had some event that has caused me to use like the insurance. And the same could go for
Mhm.
like renter's insurance. It's
Yes.
super cheap. And people, it's like $10 a month to protect your stuff if you're renting an apartment. And people are like, yeah, I don't need it. I just it's $10.
How
Like
much of those Yeezys? How much of those Yeezys? Something happens?
$10 a month. I mean, you're talking you have way more stuff that's I don't want us as younger professionals to have to live through these experiences versus let me just tell you how you can avoid having an issue if you just got covered. Because again,
Right.
people don't like any type of insurance until something bad happens and like, oh,
Right.
now I want to get it. And usually at that point in your life, it's too expensive, but you got to pay.
Right.
Or you
Or
go
you got to
without.
get tested. You got to get tested for certain insurances, especially if you lived a kind of vivacious lifestyle and all of a sudden they're like, we need to check to see if you still healthy on the up and up.
Yeah.
Or you get sick and then you try to get insurance afterwards. Not 9 times out of 10 insurance companies will not
Don't do it.
accept you if especially they test you and they find something in your bloodstream. I
Yeah.
know you can lie, but there's only so much you can do when you're lying. You
Agreed.
won't get the whole coverage.
Yeah.
What kind of things that you want to leave with our young people who are listening today? They're college graduates. You're telling them to venture out, to do their research, to ask questions so far, find that community. These are some of the nuggets you dropped. But being wealthy, how can one just identify what that is to that person where they're not getting influences from others or outside environments, social media, music, or entertainment? Those can be, or watching your older brother or, college roommate make it and, be successful. Um, what could you say to a young person who's, they haven't defined what wealth is for them? Where should they start to actually, begin to question, what that is to them personally?
Yeah. I would make a list. And this list is probably stuff you've been thinking about, like that you want to do in your life, like literally in your whole life. You could write it down. You could do a vision board. And I did a vision board when I was 21. It was a part of this job. We had to go do it. But they were like, just think about what does your life look like when you're older and what do you want to be doing? And, and so it caused me to kind of take that moment and think, like, what kind of life do I want to live? Do I want to have like the fancy car, the house, the vacation? Like it was like just go through a list of stuff that you want. And then it was if you can write those things down or have those in the forefront, then you can work the plan backwards. So if I want to live this lifestyle, what is that going to require me to do? So
Hmm.
it's got to be personalized. So I'm like you, where I'm like, I don't care what you're doing, Denise, because I got a different plan, right? We got a different set of circumstances. We may live in different parts of the country. And so,
Hmm.
we talked about moving away. Like where you live matters. Like I live in
Yeah.
California. Cost of
Yeah.
living is a lot higher than at home in North Carolina. So I have to be thinking a little bit differently about what wealth and getting rich and living a fabulous life looks like, because it's going to be a little bit more expensive if I
Yeah.
decide to stay in California. So I would encourage everybody to just think about what is it that you want. That's where you start. Everything else will work itself out. There's more than enough information and YouTube videos and all this. There's plenty out there for you to like take a look at, but you got to start with the very first thing, and that's with you. What do you want? And if you can't figure that out, it doesn't matter what you invest in, how you just won't have that clarity. And I still find that is a big issue for a lot of my clients, is that they've done pretty well. But when I ask that question, like, so what is it you're trying to accomplish? They're like, I don't know. I
Mm,
need you to have at least a clue. But saving is good, investing and all that's great, but at least have a goal attached to the work that you're
right.
doing. You do it for your job. I want to get promoted, so let me go back to school, get another degree. Let me take some courses. Let me educate
Mhm,
myself a little bit more because I want to
mhm.
get paid more. So you went through a process for your job. You interview. You did all these steps. So the same thing applies with your money. Is that if I'm trying to get wealthy, well, actually, what do wealthy people do? Maybe they do something that you want to do, and then that should be added to your to-do list.
Hmm. I like it. I like that you are inviting the question back to them, saying, what is it that you want? What is it to live your best life now? And keep in mind your environment where you choose to live, because it's going to affect your wealth and it's going to affect your outcomes. You might get to your goals faster if you live in North Carolina versus living in Southern or Northern California. It's going to take you a little longer,
Yeah.
but there's different parts of California that people just don't know about. People don't know about the mountains. It's a
Yeah.
cheaper way of living. It's not the city. It's not a lot of hustle and bustle.
Hmm.
Um, it's more calmer. There's hidden gems like that all throughout various
Hmm.
high, economic places, but you still need to figure out what works best for you. Maybe your lifestyle needs to be conducive to city living. So
Agreed.
does that mean you
Agreed.
have a roommate? Do you decide to continue on having that college kind of dormitory style life until you
Hmm.
can slowly scale yourself up? Living in New York City is different from living in California. It's way different.
Hmm.
So considering that environment piece is a major factor. And another thing is don't be so dependent on your job. I think most people can't pivot when they get those beautiful big jobs right out of college. So happy. I got an expense account. I got a great income. I can, in the next 2 to 5 years, I'm going to be living on the east side with my big, apartment in the sky and all this good stuff. And then the economy turns and they're downsizing, and you didn't start a business, or you can be an independent consultant. You can have another source of income coming in. You're not investing, you're not saving, you're spending more, you're getting all the toys as opposed to investing more. I think it's a balance. Most homes nowadays, they have smaller closets. I always say, look at the closet, because most people didn't have as much. But now we can't even fit our clothes in the closet because we have so much. And we don't even, when it's outdated, we throw it away. We don't even reuse it. We don't even keep it. We just get more stuff. I mean, for me personally, I just want to see us do better and to change that trajectory of 2025 or whatever they're saying between 2025 and 2035. Black Americans are going to lose their stakehold in the economy because our wealth will be decreased. We are on the downturn. I want to end saying that we are capable and willing to change that trajectory by just asking the right questions and making the best decisions for our moment to moment. Anything you want to end with our studio audience?
Yeah, I would say you've got to work with professionals. So all this going to social media, asking family members who aren't experts. If they are experts, that's a different conversation. But go to the people who are doing the work. So I'm a financial planner. I do insurance. I do investments. I do this. And then I have people who go to the internet. Well, the internet told me to do this. The internet doesn't ask you questions. It just throws information at you. So I would highly recommend you think about connecting with experts in
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're interested in doing. Try to find a real life person to talk to about what it is you're trying to do. If you can remember that, that is how you also get wealthy, because wealthy people don't try to figure it out by themselves. Just so y'all know, Jay-Z and Beyonce are wealthy in their own right. They don't sit around on their phones all day trying to figure out financial planning, how to be wealthy. They just work. They just work. They're parents. They run businesses. They cannot, they don't have, they real busy. And they have seen the value. And wealthy people see the value in working with a team of people, a team. It's a collective effort to help you to get rich and or wealthy. I don't do what I do by myself. So I would highly encourage you to think about working with a professional or multiple professionals to get you to where you want to go.
I love it. I love it. So where can people find you?
Yeah, they can find me at thebuildwealthmovement.com. That's the best place to find me. And I have a ton of resources on there that I would encourage everybody to go check out. But again, that's thebuildwealthmovement.com. And I'm sure people probably see my t-shirt right now. This is what I'm working on, because we've talked about this in a nutshell of like Black wealth and the decline in our assets and the wealth gap to some degree. That's what I'm working to try to stop, is that it's the way we think about money. It's the way we feel about it. And that's what's stopping us from being financially great. We're educated. We got the jobs. We have all this spending power, but we're not spending it the proper way. And so all of my efforts are geared towards disrupting generational poverty. So to your point earlier, generations long after we are both gone will still be eating good. And they're going to say, you know what? I remember great, great, great Uncle Jasper, because he made sure that my life was going to be a little bit easier. So that's the
That's
energy that
great.
I'm on. And I hope that I can inspire a few more people to join me on this quest to disrupt generational poverty.
I love it. And you can also be reached at your email address at jsmith@ready2, the number 2, buildwealth.com. And I want to thank you for taking the time to join us and leaving your nuggets, wisdom to this graduating class of 2023, whether you're graduating from middle school, high school, college, and graduate school, or just saying, I'm just going to have a new leash on life. As everybody's graduating, I'm going to graduate my mindset. So today's talk was on having a wealthy mindset. Before we say goodbye to you guys all, I want to make sure that you just save these dates right here on Internship and Careers program. We have a virtual internship and careers recruitment spotlight. It's going to be held on June 1st. That's next Thursday from 12 to 2 Pacific Standard Time. You have to check your time zone, where you can meet recruiters, hear from them directly on what opportunities are available in many different industries and the best ways to apply and get hired. Get your resume directly in the hands of the recruiters by clicking on those QR codes and uploading your resume or registering. Receive key resume and interview tips from experts from all walks of life, talking about multiple career opportunities in tech and just in general. I don't want to just spill the beans, but here are the QR codes up close and personal. You can register there and upload your resume there. And also, NCRF is hosting a Summer Golf Classic. This is a third annual. It's a fundraiser, and as I told you before, our mission is to help those who are, need the help. And this golf tournament or golf classic is going to do that for us. It's in person in Lakewood on Carson Street, 3101 Carson Street, Lakewood, 1 to 6 p.m. It's in the West Coast for those people who are not paying attention. So click that QR code if you want to register to join us, or you want to donate. You want to donate to our cause. And I just want to also encourage you guys to follow, like us, subscribe at National College Resources Foundation and our YouTube channel, NCRF TV. Again, my name is Mrs. Denise Parker. Thank you, Jasper. Mr. Bill Wells, for helping us talk about having a healthy mindset, graduation edition. Thank you again. And we look forward to seeing you guys until next time. Thank you. And slowly.